Excuse me, let me do this again. Instead of purely relying on these zones and trying to make it mechanical, what I'm going to do is this. If this ends up being the high, right, first thing I'm going to do is go, okay, 3824, where's the first place I'm going to go look? I'm going to go look at 3800, that's 85, okay, would be 15 points down. That would put my location right in here, okay, and then I'm going to look 85 all the way down to 80, okay. This is the location I'm going to look for some kind of structure to get me a rotation back higher. That's all I'm looking for. I am not saying we come in here and reject back to the upside. What I'm saying is I'm looking for a pause in this particular location. Okay. If that doesn't work, I'm going to look another 15 to 20 lower. So from 85 brings it up 70, right? So 70, that'll give me another 15 to 20 lower right in this location. We really need to come right out of this location. And then also notice, we're actually poorly auctioned all the way down to the bottom down here on NQ, okay? But I got a feeling people are going to look back at this structure over here, okay, in terms of the first time down and try to get a rotation back up. Why? First of all, this is a 30-point stretch. That's a big stretch. What were the stretches prior to the news coming out is the first thing I want to ask myself when I'm looking at setting up NQ trades. Let's go back and look. So the other day we had essentially a stretch from 85 down to 65, 20 points. Prior day before this, we had a stretch from 82 down to 55. So roughly a 30-point stretch has been about the biggest stretch I've been able to find over the last couple of days. So if that's the case, and we had a 3,800 swing high yesterday, assuming that holds today, right? I'll adjust if we don't, right? So 3,800 brings me right back into 3,770. I'm going to expect that somewhere in here, right, that we're going to find responsive buyers, and I would expect to push back up from here. If we fail to do so and we get below, this opens the door down to 37.55, and if we retrace this whole thing like this, it would not be good. I would take it, if I were a trader, as a bearish sign, right? So that's what I'm looking for in NQ. Again, responsive buyers in this area if we even get anywhere close to this location. Oh yeah, Philly Fed at, thank you, Micah. Philly Fed at top of the hour, just so everyone's aware of it. Okay, so let's go back over to ES and take a look at that chart really quick. Would anyone like a copy of this chart, or does anyone need a copy of this chart? You want me to post it? I will. Just let me know. If no one wants it, I won't worry about it. Okay, hold on a second, guys. Okay, photo it is. Hold on a second. Okay, I want everyone to understand on the zones, they're hypothetical. NQ doesn't trade like ES does, where you can treat them as almost automatic, okay? That would be a big mistake. Can I put that out over the Twitter feed? It was just sent. Okay, looking at ES. Get this back over here. Mia, do you have everything ready for camp? Okay. Okay. Looking at areas below. So first of all, let's resolve this thing since it looks like we're not going to bust above 38. Excuse me. Well, we're banging right against it. So right now we have 1951.25. Gosh, I hate this. So let's do this. Let's make it, we'll give it 4 more minutes and see if we push to a new high, right? So obviously the new high is going to stand here. The only question is it, and the big question is, right, can we get, if we trade above, do we trade back below Globex high? So first of all, on these zones above. These zones above are calculated based on my own exhaustion points and are not automatic, okay? I would like to see tick divergence. Again, I'm not taking the trap trades on ES from above. They've repeatedly failed, although yesterday it worked beautifully, obviously. But until I see a solid week or two of them working day in, day out, I will not be taking that trade. That'll probably mean I missed rollover from the highs. The one area I would be interested in is if we trade above, right, and then we trade above, below, I'll look for a rotation back up, okay, to set up a trade to the downside. Where would my stop have to be if I get in here? So I want to discuss that for a second. If we come up and we trap below, I'll need a rotation back up, and I'll need it to not close back above Globex high. A close back above Globex high would eliminate the trade. This is the only particular trap that I'm looking for if we got it. All these other traps are trapped from above. If we just do one of these jobs where we just peak above and come back down, I'm not interested. But if we actually get above, we short squeeze into this 1956 or even this 1960 area, and then we close below, I'm going to want to see it come back up into this area, and that'll be my trade to the short side. Otherwise, I will probably miss the short side trade, right? On the long side, we're opening at 1951, so I move down into the 1947 3/4. I actually would take this morning, and not because it's Globex low, but because that's a backside test of that prior breakout. My stop would be simply 2 points behind, okay? And I'll want to see a relatively swift reaction back out of this location, right? If I had to choose zones that I was going to trade for, this one becomes questionable because not enough of a stretch, okay? I will take, assuming that I'm here, trade the first time into 1941, 1939, and then I will also take a trade into this 1937. If I could only take one area out of this whole thing, only one trade, I would take this 1937.25 to 1935.25. Why is that? Because it is where we had significant structure from prior days, even though it's very, very poorly auctioned in this area. Okay, normally I would not take this, but this would also be just past the 10-point stretch, and 10-point stretches, 10 to 12 have been the average on most days. I would look for responsive buyers. So I'm looking here, and I'm definitely looking long for a reaction out of yesterday's low. However, I want to be clear. If we get all the way back to yesterday's low, down 20, it would not be a good sign. I would assume if I were a trader and I saw us late in the day trading down here, I would be very concerned that this created a top and that we trapped everyone above this point, right? And that we had a potential move back to the downside. Also key in getting any move to the downside would be a breaking of this trend line that we have here, which is currently sitting down near 1931. I would need to see that break, okay? On the upside, I will try to push my trades, and I will look for traps both at first hour low, right, and Globex low. And if we get down low enough, Wednesday's low, but I don't expect us to get down into this area today. Of course, every time I say that, we end up getting down in that area. So again, I'm leaning, I'm leaning long. I'm expecting the energy to be a low energy environment, okay, meaning I don't expect to get big extensions. We'll be able to judge from the pace pretty quickly. We obviously have the Philly Fed at the top of the hour. That could certainly drive markets, but there's just nothing bearish about this market. This market will be much easier to short once it breaks, as opposed to continuously trying to press and work the short side. So it is now it is now 4 minutes till, and I need to make a decision with this zone. So of course that totally sucks. So the way, excuse me, just 1 second, please. Okay, so let me think this through here real quick. Dun, 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 dun. Okay, so what I'm going to do is move this zone like this. To 1949.25. Okay, back to 1951.25. If I want to see if you're trading the trap, just because I'm not trading doesn't mean you can't. What you want to see is it trade, get a B grade trap. It's got to close and hold below this 1950.25. Okay, so I think a lot of people will be thinking we have to get it back and fill. There's going to be a lot of traders thinking there's no way we can keep going straight up. I've been in this environment before. Market can keep going up a lot longer than any of us think it should or can, right? It doesn't have to re-auction any of this. None of this has to happen. I think it'll be easier to find trade location, as I said, down in this area, and the area right in that area right below. I don't expect us to get much lower, okay? And I'll be patient. If I'm going to take the trade to the upside, interestingly, I want to note NQ dramatically underperformed ES right up until the end of the day where it got short squeezed. I want to watch and see if it can break above and hold above this 3,800. Okay, so I'm not going to be too quick to do anything right out of the gate because it is possible for us to. It is possible to get the short side trade. I'm just not going to press it. And the first time into Globex lows on NQ. Oh, I wanted to go over one more thing on NQ right in this area. Okay, this is all critical, but the most critical thing out of all of this are these two areas right here. Yesterday's high and that prior, what was the prior high, right? This is a potential double top. If this doesn't hold, we do have the potential to re-auction and get back down here. If we get below this 37.72, right, and we don't get a reaction back to the upside, okay, that would make me actually extremely cautious and look for a larger move to the downside. Also, I forgot one other thing before we get started. Open drive higher, open drive lower. What are the characteristics, guys? Don't forget about them. I've gotten a little bit lazy. We're obviously not getting a gap or a significant gap. So open drive lower, 3 bars down like this, right? First bar will be the first 5-minute high. On almost every open drive lower, we've had a significant reaction back up, right, before a continuation down, which has generally happened between 9:30 and 10 a.m. before we've actually gotten the meat of this move lower, okay? Open drive higher, 3 bars higher. We're not getting a gap up, but there's nothing above to slow the velocity of an open drive higher, so keep that in mind, right? The first 5-minute bar will be the swing low, and the tick will stay either completely positive or completely negative over the first hour. Those are the sure signs that we have a potential trend day, one direction or another. So I think I covered it pretty well where I'm taking the trades. Again, NQ, I would look for a test of that Globex low first time. And I do not like where Globex low landed, but it has been repeatedly a winning trade to take that first move into Globex low. Again, I won't be taking any of this because I'm about to exit stage right. So does anyone have any questions? Did everyone get the adjustment on the zones? Okay, so we're essentially going to make it 1949.25, right, to 1951.25 is going to be the entire zone here. So let me correct this to yellow. And remember, this is actually Wednesday's high sitting right here. Okay, Globex high has to hold. Okay, so at any rate, I wouldn't trust the push lower at all. Okay, they're just backside testing this 37.98.25. All that is a backside test of the prior high. And as a matter of fact, this is exactly an area where somewhere between here and that 94, as a matter of fact, I'd be willing to take that scalp right there at 98.25. Normally, if I were super aggressive, my guess is they're going to step right in on it. And I would put my stop 5 below. So everything in my bones wants to take that long right there at 37.98.25 on that backside test. Even if it fails, it'd be worth a shot to see if they're going to come in and squeeze it back higher. I don't think the sellers will be able to get the upper hand very quickly. Could be totally wrong about that. But anyways, I'm not going to take the trade. I've got to exit stage right. I'm going to reprint this and repost this chart here real quick. And then Globex low is by itself, okay, and very lonesome. That's unfortunate. It's just not in a good area. If I had to make an area, it's going to be just like this right here, back to 1948, but it's not much of a push lower, unfortunately. And they need to step this right off, like this little trade from this 98 area, right? It needs to pretty much work right away. If not, you are going to get a test of this Globex. So this was all kind of chopped up, and thanks to a very tight range, is really kind of screwing things up for us, right? So anyways, that's that. Let's see if they hold it, and I will post this chart here in just a second. I hope that made sense to everybody.